welcome to On the Patio with Mr. D. Hey, today we're going to answer all these viewer questions I've received during the year on how to winterize your Advanced Elements Kayak. So we're going to do that today. We're going to be winterizing the AE 1044 DSXL. We're going to be going step by step from cleaning to disassembly to reassembly, the drying out process, how I store my floor, because when I summarize in my case, but winterize in your case, the kayak, I don't keep the floor inside the boat. I actually roll it, and I have a little special strap that I made, and we'll be getting into that in just a couple minutes. Actually, that'll be the first step. But what you want to do first, guys, is deflate your kayak completely, 100%, and then pull your floor. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the little process that I came up with on how to roll drop stitch floor if you have one, and then how to strap it, because you don't want to use rubber bands. If they're in there for long months of time, they will deteriorate and then stick to the floor, and it gets all kinds of messy. So I'm going to show you a real quick, simple way to do that. So hey, we'll be back in a bit. So what we're going to do here, guys, is we are going to roll the floor, and then I made this webbing strap right here, and when it's rolled, then I adjust it and pull it, but I don't want it real tight, but I want to keep the roll. But this is just a suggestion for you guys if something you want to do, because when I winterize the boat, I take the floor out of the kayak and roll it separately. You see the valve here. I'm going to turn it over because I want the valve at the end of the roll. So I turn the floor over like this and then start the roll at the end. And I just roll it like you would anything else. Now you can see why I want the valve where it is. When I get to where the valve is, then I bring this section over, and it doesn't put undue stress on the valve, as you can see right here. Now I'm going to take the strap that I made, and anyway, you adjust your straps where you want it. I did a pre-measurement first, but then you just click it into place, and that just basically just holds it. It's not that big a deal, but it doesn't put any undue stress on it. But when you put it away in your craft, it's going to be perfect. So anyway, after you clean your hull and your floor, now I use simple green for this process. You can use whatever cleaning agent you want, but you want to wipe down your entire hull, the floor inside, and then of course your if you have the drop stitch floor, you clean the drop stitch floor, and if you have the standard floor, you clean the standard floor, and then roll it in the same process. Okay, now if you have the stock floor in your boat, then you roll it the same way with the overpressure valve at the far end. Do the same process, and then if you want to use the clip system like this, you're all good to go. Well, guys, what I do now is I go ahead and I clean the entire hull. Normally I use simple green or something like that, and I spray down the hull, and I do the same thing on the inside of the craft, and I also do the same thing on the floor. So I'm going to knock that out right now, so hang with me. Well, guys, what we got to do now before I finish cleaning the entire inside of the boat and do the inspection, you've got to tear it apart. Now, there's a big nut, plastic nut right here, and all you have to do is loosen this nut to release the main chamber. As you can see here, now that's ready to go. Well, hey guys, after you've taken off the nut, and this is the plastic nut right here, it releases the main bag for the main chamber. So just kind of set that off to the side for right now, because what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull out the main chamber assembly. To do that, if you have the zipper type, open the zipper full, reach inside and grab the part that has the frame in it. Makes it easier to come out. And go ahead and pull that out and lay it up on top and take the frame out. And you want to do the same thing forward. Grab the frame and make sure that your rigging doesn't get hung up on it. Pull it out and take your frame out, and again you can see how this is marked. And just set them off to the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to basically do a hull inspection. Just flip the boat over and you're going to do a visual hull inspection, being sure that there's no holes, scrapes, punches, rips, tears, anything like that. Everything looks good. Now where these seams are welded right here, you will sometimes get some small frays. They're just little tiny things, but a lighter will clean them up. Just hit it like that, and I just check it to make sure there's no frays, anything like that. And then if your hull checks out, you're done with the hull, and you're basically done with the entire skin of your AE kayak. As you can see here, guys, I went ahead and put the hull in the sun just to let it dry and do its thing. So the next thing we're going to do is disassemble the main chamber. Well, hey guys, we got the main chamber all out now, and what we're going to do is totally disassemble the main chamber. Again, we have a nut from the inside of the main chamber that has to be removed. Just unscrew it like this. Now that's free. Set that one off to the side, and that part of the main chamber is ready to come out. At the far end, you will see a big zipper. Unzip this. And remove your airbag. Now the reason I'd remove the entire air chamber is because if your canvas got wet, there can be condensation on the main chamber bag. So I go ahead and pull it out, and we're going to reassemble it later, and just set it off to the side for right now. Now what we're doing is doing the same process here, and I was out kayaking the other day, so this part of the bag from where it came into the cockpit is still wet. This is the reason why you take the main chamber out when you're getting ready to winterize. You don't normally have to pull these out, but to get them out, it's easy. You just take this and feed it down. Just get the air valve past it, let it pop up through, and then just pull this thing out. And that's all there is to that. Reassembly is the same way. I don't do this in winterization unless this is wet, and it's not, so I don't have to worry about it. So I'll go ahead and reinstall the deck lifts, and then what I do is pre-inflate it just for a second, make sure it seats right, and we're good to go. Now what we do is we take the inner main chamber bag and put it in the sun and let it dry out totally. Also do an inspection, checking all the stitching. I've never had a problem, but just do a visual. You don't want no surprises when you start your kayaking season. So just let this dry out, and that is all there is to it. Well, there you go, guys. That's the entire AE 1044 DSXL totally disassembled. You see the two frames, the outer main chamber lock nut and the inner chamber nut that connects to the airbags, which connects to the outer enclosure bag, the rolled up drop stitch floor, and as you can see, all the parts. And that's what it looked like, totally disassembled, cleaned, and dried. Now it's time for reassembly. Now once all your parts are dry and you know that they're all dry, it's time for reassembly. And it's just a reverse order of your disassembly, but what I do is I do some special things and to make sure that the main chamber airbag goes into the chamber housing best and properly as it can. So what I do is I take the nose and I insert the nose first all the way up to right here, and I pinch it with my hand, and that means it's fully there. Then I start making sure that the main chamber is not twisted in any way, shape, or form, working it down the craft. I do the same for both sides. I do the same for the nose. I grab the nose here at the stern, reach it all the way up, pinch it with my finger. That way I know it's all the way forward. Then I start working the bag in. Once I get to this point here, I grab one of the plastic retainer nuts, align the main chamber to the inner wall, and go ahead and reinstall that. Now, no wrenches are required, just hand tight, that's all you need. Now I finish up making sure the airbag is all lined up correctly. Now the next thing we do is go ahead and zip up the main chamber housing. Just insert it into the zipper and start locking it down, making sure everything is flat, no twists. And that's how you go ahead and reinstall your main chamber airbag into your main chamber housing. Well, hey guys, we're going to now install, now that the airbag is in the main chamber enclosure, we're going to go ahead and install the bow and stern frames and then get this inserted into the craft. So the first thing you do is you grab your bow frame, all inserted, and make sure it's bottomed out on the sleeve. Again, go underneath any bungee cord or rigging you have. Now again, I keep my hands on the frame all the time, and then insert it fully into the front of the boat, and that one's done. Now I do the same thing for the stern. Insert the frame into its sleeves. Hold on to this frame right here with your hand. Make sure you go under any rigging that's on top. Insert it all the way, and you can do that when you make sure you're all the way in, because you should be able to grab the frame right here with your hand. And that's in. Now, just basically insert your main chamber into your outer skin. Now, once you get to this point, it's time to connect your main chamber to the outer retainer ring. Now, as you can see, I rest it on my knee to push the air valve up through the hole, and then you just put your retainer nut on to test it. If you tightness, try to pull it off, and you can't, that means you're good to go. The next part of this is to tuck everything back where it belongs. Zip it closed. And go ahead and attach, if you have this model, attach your Velcros. Now if you notice, I am not hooking up the rigging. The reason for that, I want to take any stress that's when it's hooked up in its long-term storage, I want it to be released so it doesn't put any wear and stress wear on the rigging, so you don't have to replace it. Same thing here. Just zip it up, Velcro it closed, and again, if you have rear rigging, I disconnect it and leave it loose. Now the craft is 100% reassembled. Now to get the thing folded, that's our next process. All right, the final step is to go ahead and get this thing folded up and put away. Now, you've watched me in a previous video before on how I put my knees on it to expel any and all additional air. I always take the 2 fat ends and put it in the bag first. Just makes it easier to rebag. Okay, insert my seat. Insert my winterized floor. Now I lay it on its side because it makes it a lot easier to zip. Well, hey guys, we are going to wrap this segment up. I really hope this addresses your question on how to winterize your Advanced Elements Kayak. Now today, for demonstration purposes, I use the AE 1044 DSXL. And why I say that is I have forward and aft zippers on that. So some of your craft do not have forward and aft zippers, but the disassembly is relatively the same. We went through the cleaning of the hull inside and out, inspection check, make sure there's no rips, tears, anything like that. And then we went through the disassembly of the main chamber assembly, pulled out the main airbags, and inspected all of that and made sure all these parts lay out and that they're 100% dry. Then we went through the reassembly all the way back except putting in the floor. When we went through the rolling floor process, again, I told you that when I summarize my kayak, it's winterized to you guys, I roll the floor separately. I don't keep the floor in the boat. I go ahead and remove it and I roll it, and then I use that little webbing strap I made to loosely attach the rolling of the floor. And that really works out well for me. When you're doing the rolling, make sure you roll towards the main valve, or if you're using a stock floor, you want to go to roll it, to where your pressure relief valve is on top facing you when you finish rolling. Add your strap if you wish. Now, when you're making this strap or when you're wrapping the roll up of your floor, make sure you don't use anything of rubber material. Long time in a storage bag can, I think the word is degrade the rubber, and then it'll stick to your floor. So rubber band, big rubber bands, anything like that is kind of out of the question. Also, make sure that all your rigging is disassembled. Don't take it off the boat, but all your clips are loose. So when you fold it in, this takes all the spring tension that you have during the year when you're out doing your thing. It relieves that pressure and puts it back to its natural state, thus allowing you more longevity with your rigging material. Now, if you notice, I rigged the back of my craft. I use the same process though. I disconnect it when I fold it and put it away. Hey guys, I hope this answers all the viewers' questions on how I winterize, and in my case again, I summarize mine. I'm in Florida, so my season starts when your season's over. I go from October to the end of June, but I do the same thing. I make sure the boat is totally dried out. It's just too hot out here in July, August, September. It's just too hot in Florida to go out paddling. Now, some people do, I don't. I do the exact same process, and being this is so humid in Florida, having all the parts dry is absolutely critical, because mold will get on your boat if you put that thing away and it's still wet. So use this process to winterize your craft, and I'll tell you what, you'll keep that thing in pristine condition for many, many years. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.